Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Agent Power Huddle. Today is Scripting Fridays. My name is Ed Laine, and as you can tell by my backdrop, I'm in Seattle, and I like to know exactly what to say in every circumstance to help my clients win and help me win. And that's why we do this. This is the wrong slide deck, so bear with me. Where did it go? This is the one we want. Good morning, Allison. Good morning, Alvina. Good morning, Hunter. So, if you were with us last week, I touched on the Moving Concierge program, and I said I would do kind of a deep dive on how it works and why it's a benefit. And I got to be honest, this little nugget helps me convert seller leads at an unbelievable clip. Because if you think about it, one of the dialogues that I use with every seller, unless their house is brand spanking new and there's no potential for upside, I'll say, "Hey, I can sell your house one of three ways. I can bring you a cash offer tomorrow. I can sell your home as is on the market, or I can sell it as repaired on the market, or what we call our moving concierge program." And that they love those words because in their mind, if they were thinking there was a few different angles, they were probably also thinking they needed to talk to a few different brokers. And now I've just slayed all those objections because I do them all. I literally had a client after going through this with him say, "Which one do I get you with?" And I said, "Jack, I got bad news, brother. I come with all three." And he ended up taking the cash offer. So that's the cool part of this. But this is a deep dive on the third option, which is the as repaired sale. And I'm going to give you all the dialogues, all the tools. So another term for this is the pre-listing rehab. So think of it, any home that's in bad shape or disrepair or dated, uh, we should be considering this because especially if the issues are safety or code issues, that'll make a house unlendable. And think about the impact on the sale price when all of a sudden your home is no longer financeable. That knocks out 80% of the buyer pool, right? Now you're talking cash only. So at the very least, this should be your safety net for those homes that might be cash only, right? All right. So why does it matter? Well, it's another tool in your tool belt, right? You can articulate to your prospects that you can bring them a solution that works for them, whatever their goals are, right? And like I said earlier, now they don't have to talk to two or three brokers. You cover them all. So can moving concierge be part of a larger offering? Yeah, of course, right? "Hey seller, I have three ways I can sell your home based on your needs. I can bring you a cash offer tomorrow," which by the way, if you're with EXP, that's express offers. If you're not with EXP, hopefully you have a stable of investors that would be willing, right? "I can sell your home as is on the market, or I can sell your home as repaired with my moving concierge program. And I'm going to show you how and why that would be wise because I'm going to prove an ROI, right? That's a really key component of this. You don't want to do any of this work unless you can provide evidence that it's going to yield more money for the seller. And by the way, it needs to yield more than what they spent, right? So what are the tools I need? You need CMA skills, right? You want to be able to do an as is CMA. What's it going to sell for today in its current condition? And what's it going to sell for if we do the following? Now, the following is a scope of work. So you'll need those skills, and you can get those through experience like me. I've flipped homes for profit. I mention that to my prospect. I'm a rehabber. I'm going to make recommendations that I know are going to be widely accepted in the marketplace because I've done it before. So if you're part of my team, you should say those words, but attribute them to the team itself. My team or my team leader is a rehabber. Therefore, you're going to get better advice, right? If you aren't experienced in this personally or affiliated with somebody that is, talk to one of your GC friends. See if they can help you with scope of work. There's nothing wrong with getting a time slot with a seller to say, I want to bring my contractor by, right? It doesn't have to be you. There's also a website called bluehammer.com. Write that down. That is part of Kelly Blue Book, but it's the construction part. And I really like this website because what it does is it'll estimate work based on your zip code because lumber costs different in different parts of the country. So you can get a specific scope of work for your project using their website. Another tool you're going to need is a cash offer system, right? So again, EXP has express offers. Uh, Homeward is another cash offer. Open Door, Purple Bricks was one for a while, but they went away. You could also have your own stable of investors or be your own investor. Hopefully, you guys are all leveraging your license to build your own portfolio, right? You should. I have rentals. You should too. I'm also going to share with you today what I call the magical one pager. This is a side-by-side comparison so somebody can visualize what we're talking about, right? Here's what it looks like. And the way I describe it to people is like this. Your house has three different approaches, right? And each one of them is a different number, a rising number, right? And think of it like this. It's a continuum of price, but an opposite continuum of convenience. And if you help somebody wrap their mind around that, then they can decide, is it worth the inconvenience to get the extra money? And most people will say yes, depending on how much inconvenience, right? But think of this, like look at this example that's on the screen. This is a $200,000 rehab. That's pretty extensive. So they're probably having to move out. That's the most inconvenient, right? Or the least convenient. Cash offer is the most convenient because they don't even have to accommodate showings or photos or anything. They can just take the offer. But this allows them to go, okay, so we can do a cash offer today for 675. We can put it on the market and get it photographed and deal with showings and all that in escrow and get more money, but it's going to take longer, right? And it's a less convenient because of the showings. Or we can do a remodel and it's going to take longer, but we're going to get more money. And look at the difference. 740 plus 200 is 940. They're getting 1150 based on the comp analysis I did for this particular property. That allows them to see, okay, so if we spend 200, we're going to yield 400, which means we doubled our money, right? That's 100% ROI. And I'm going to stop sharing so I can look at you guys. One thing you got to make sure your prospect understands is the math. I actually had one lady, we were going to do just $10,000 worth of rehab. And I explained that we would only do that if we got a 40% ROI. And then she went and talked to her friend who isn't a math expert. And her friend said, don't do it because they're going to spend 10 grand and you're only going to get 4 grand. No, that's not ROI. ROI is spend 10 grand and get 14 grand. That is a return on investment. A 4 grand return is a 60% loss. right? So the point I'm making is don't take for granted that people are picking up what you're laying down. And I'll use numbers. I'll say, so for example, if we spend 10 grand, we're going to make 14 or more. If we spend 100 grand, we're going to make 140 or more, and really emphasize that. Now, this one pager that's on the screen, the lower half looks like this. And this is where I break down what we're going to do if we go with scenario number two and what we're going to do if we go with the moving concierge. So you can see the difference, right? Free staging consult, remove clutter and depersonalize, touch up paint, pressure wash aggregate, remove Christmas lights, clean up landscaping, shampoo car. Like this is normal, clean it up and get it photo ready, right? Or complete interior, exterior paint, all new flooring, remodel kitchen and bathrooms, remove popcorn ceiling, landscape package, pressure wash aggregate, new roof and garage doors. Like you can see why this was 200,000, right? But this is all on one sheet. So let me show it to you, right? That's the top half, that's the bottom half. It's all on one page. They can look at it and decide, is it worth it? And what they're going to focus on are the numbers and the timing. Super easy, right? So let's talk some scripts. One is, what if I could give you a way where we could remodel your home without you having to come to the table with a nickel? That's powerful, right? I used to say, remodel your home with our money and you keep the profit. That's when I owned my own company and we fronted the money. But now, if you use Curbio or something like that, you can use one of the finance companies, like Notable, right? But it's still not out of pocket of the homeowner unless they want to. And I've had sellers pay their own. It's their choice, right? Scenario number two. My job is to put together all three scenarios for you. And the best part, you don't even have to decide which one you want to take until you know all the numbers. How cool is that, right? If we go back to this, they don't have to choose until you've given them the final numbers. You've shown them the comps. This is what it's going to sell for if we put new appliances and furniture or flooring and everything, right? That is empowering to them. And that's also why that guy Jack said, I get it, but which one do I get you with, Ed? Right? Scenario number three, how will I know if I should do it? We basically have a rule of thumb. If I can't show you that these improvements will have a 40% ROI, then you shouldn't do it. Plain and simple. We spend 10 grand, it needs to sell for 14 more. 100 grand, we should get 140 or more. Quantify it so you make sure they understand what ROI means. And I'll often end it with, and if I can't prove the 40% ROI, that's the market telling us don't bother. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? If the comps don't support new flooring, paint, and appliances, don't do it. Buyers are not moving to that area expecting it, which means they aren't going to pay more for it. That's what comp analysis does for us. So you have to frame it that way for the consumer so they can see, okay, I'm looking at these comps and they don't have these nice finishes. That means we shouldn't do it, right? If we can find as is comps and as repaired comps, you're going to see a margin, a markup. And is that markup enough to do the work and give a return? Make sense? This way, we're insulated from market shifts while we're doing the work. Think about this for a sec. That example I gave earlier, a $200,000 remodel, how long do you think that project could take? Could be a couple months, right, Allison? 8 weeks, maybe even 10 or 12. I mean, depends on what kind of stuff. Can the market shift in a couple months? I'm saying this just for the recording on June 19th. It shifted Monday on one day this week. Did you guys all realize that? When they announced the settlement in Iran, my phone blew up. I put three deals in escrow in 48 hours. I got offers out, offers in. The market is pivoting today. Well, now apply that quick turn to 8 weeks. That's plenty of time for a pivot, right? So I like to use 40% because what if the market shifts against us? We've had a couple of those incidences in these last 16 months, right? 16 months ago, it was tariffs. 4 months ago or 3 months ago, it was bombs dropping in Iran. Both of those events shut the market practically off. Well, if I was mid rehab and then coming on the market, that's a problem, right? It's going to sell for less. But a 40% margin gives me that buffer. So if it erodes because of economic or political things, I'm still making money in the black. You might only get a 10% ROI or a 20% ROI, but it's still an ROI and it's not negative. The last thing you want to do is spend 100 grand and only make 50 more, right? That's the market telling you you shouldn't have done it. So anyway, forgive me if I'm dwelling too much on these numbers, but it's important that you convey to your client that we don't just assume this is a good idea. We prove it. I am going to show you that it is either smart to do it because the comps justify it and support it, or it's not. And that's okay. If the market's telling us not to do it, I don't have any heartburn about that. That's us making a good decision based on data. And then we list it like that. I was in one yesterday that I told the owner, we just need to get this on the market. It's ready to go now, right? That's also in part because of the pivot that I just talked about. The market's heating up. All right, scenario number four. Which approach do you think is best for me? Think of it like this. These are two continuums, right? A continuum of price and a continuum of convenience. The cash offer is the lowest but easiest path, and the as repaired is the most money but the least convenient. So, which one do you prefer? And again, this conversation or these dialogues I'm using at the beginning before we've established the numbers. And here's the best part. I don't establish any numbers until they sign a listing agreement. I'm meeting with a client today, actually, that I met with 4 months ago to have this conversation. They decided to do the work themselves, and I'm going to see how it's coming. But I had them sign a listing agreement 4 months ago. Now, I don't know about your market, but in my market, a signed listing agreement has to be taken live within 30 days. That's what our MLS rules are. Well, I signed a listing agreement 4 months ago. Is that a problem? No. I'm going to have them sign another one, and I'm never going to turn in the first one. The first one was all about committing in their head to me. When you get somebody to put pen to paper, it triggers in their head an emotion of loyalty to you. So get in that habit. Get people to sign before you lift a finger. And I'll just touch on the state law here in Washington because every state may have a different law. You may also not have a law, but you have MLS rules. Know your market and what's required. But in our state, they passed a law that says I can't provide brokerage services without first being hired. Okay, well, doing a CMA is brokerage services. And I can't do that legally without first being hired. That's a listing agreement. So I get a listing agreement signed. You should do the same thing. All right, bonus scenario. Now that you have these contacts, We do a lot of this sort of work. So we have over 200 subcontractors. So if you ever need a referral, give me a call. I probably have 4 or 5 of whatever you need, and I'll even tell you who my favorite is. This photo is what's in my trunk of my Mercedes. I'm not kidding when I say I was a GC. I have everything from a framing hammer and skill saw to a sawzall to a whatever. I know what I'm doing, right? And I'm sharing this not to be braggadocio, but a couple of you are on my team. Leverage my experience to your benefit. Talk about, hey, our team does this on the regular. We're going to give you the best freaking advice you can imagine. And then jump into our success hour meeting, which we do every morning at 9 a.m. And we'll go through photos. And I'll tell you, yep, we should do new flooring. We should do new appliances. We should do new whatever, right? And we'll back it up with comps. All right. I'm going to stop there. I'll give a quick plug to my custom GPT. Go to whatwouldEdSay.com. If you have a ChatGPT account, it'll let you in. If you don't, it won't. So open a free account. You don't have to have a paid account to get access to it. It's in the GPT marketplace, but it's all my scripting built into a custom GPT. So you can ask it any question and it'll tell you what Ed would say. Allison, how can I help you?
I forgot to send it to you. I used your chat, your whatwouldEdSay.com yesterday.
How'd it go?
Fantastic response.
I
Fantastic
love it.
response.
What
Yeah, I
was the
have to send it to you.
scenario?
Um, so my client, he's my buyer. He's selling his house in Oregon,
Okay.
and he's been overpriced,
Yeah.
and um, he had a second showing for the year
Oh,
uh,
ouch.
yesterday, and they canceled on him. And
Mm,
he spent 2 days cleaning the house and getting it ready.
that's a bummer.
And so, and I put in the whole scenario that he's moving down here because he wants to be with his grandson. He's missing out on his grandson's life. And it went into the deep psychology of because, he said, I'm going to start on July 1st, I'm going to start raising it $100,000 a month. And I'm like, oh, really? What did your realtor say? And he said, my realtor said, okay, and we'll do whatever you want. And I'm like, really? And so,
Did I hear you right? He's going to raise the list price 100,000 a month?
uh-huh,
What the hell?
because everyone else is lowering it. So, in business, you do what everyone else is not doing. And he was very heated. He was very heated. So I'm not going to argue with him, right?
Yeah.
And so I put the whole scenario into your thing, and it said, that he's so angry about not getting to his grandson. And it said, don't punish this buyer's gone. You can't punish this buyer.
Right.
It's talked about how what we need to do is to get traffic in. And it went through the whole scenario, like his whole emotional, like, profile. I have to send it to you. It was fascinating. So
Yeah.
I called up the listing broker, and because we're going to have to work together at some point once it goes into escrow. And he goes, I know. He was emotional. He goes, I know not to argue with him. I was going to talk to him
When
before
he's
July
in that
1st. And
mode.
so I
Yeah.
gave him your website.
Oh,
Um,
good.
yeah. So he's with Remax, just so you know. So um, so
Work,
we'll talk
work
about
that
that later.
angle.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
talk about that later. But I think he bought the franchise, so we can talk about it later. But he was fascinated by it because I read him the synopsis,
Oh,
and
funny.
he said this is an amazing tool. And I go, right. So yeah, we were.
There are a couple things that come to mind while we're talking about this scenario because I've never heard of that. Like that is wildly unusual. And
It
it's
was crazy
he's
because I was like, I can't have him raise the price. Like,
right.
so,
Well, and he's invoking what's his name? The one of the richest men in the world. Do the opposite of the
oh,
market.
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
no, that's not the same scenario. That's
And
not
he said, I have a really close, very smart friend, Phil, who told me this is a great idea. And I'm like, I met Phil because they were down here um, visiting. He was visiting his grandsons, and he asked me to meet him, at Tarantula Hill. And Phil is very smart, but Phil is also sarcastic, and I think he was messing with him.
That and he misheard it. That's funny.
Yeah, because he was,
Yeah.
when you're so emotional that you just see things the way you want to see things, and you don't
Yeah.
hear. He was that angry. Like
Yeah.
you could probably measure heat off his body. So it was just kind of a fascinating dynamic for me to study this psychology behind it,
Totally. Yeah.
and kind of understand, what he was thinking, um, and then communicate that to the listing agent. I said I didn't want to say any of this to him because he's your client. I don't want to cross that boundary, but I want to help you because the goal is for you to sell it and me to sell him something, and we're going to have to be in tight communication. So I said, let's open the dialogue now. And he was so glad I called him.
Yeah.
um, because I called with a collaborative thing, like, I don't know if you
How
knew
can we
that he
work
called
together?
me very
Yeah.
angry. um, and he also didn't know about there was a minor situation that changed over here that I said that's probably, kind of killed a little bit of the motivation. So it was really a fascinating kind of. I'm really glad I had the tool. Thank you.
Yeah. That is why, and I'm saying this for everybody's benefit, that is why we are called cooperating agents or cooperating brokers. You have to have rapport with the other side. And it's always so sad to me when it becomes adversarial. It shouldn't. Our job is to bridge between buyer and seller. In this case, it's cooperating to help one person who happens to be buying and selling. That's communication is key. And one sort of undercurrent of all these conversations, Allison, that I would always touch on is showings or a lack of showings is the market giving us feedback. And the axiom used to be 30 days or 20 showings without an offer means we are overpriced. Well, you're 180 days with one showing. You've been overpriced the whole freaking time. So to go the other direction is suicide. You're going to have the whole market just mocking you. Like I wouldn't say that to him, but that's what's going to
No,
happen.
it was very careful. It said don't say market reality. It said there was like five things it said don't say.
Yeah.
Don't say bad idea. Um, so I didn't argue with him, and his agent didn't argue with him because
Yeah.
when he gets hot, you there's
He's
just
not going to hear you
okay,
anyway.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Wow. That's interesting. You have to give us the epilogue when this thing starts to kind of play out.
yeah.
And you're smart to realize that you got to catch him in the right frame of mind
And
in order
and I've had
to,
a couple conversations with him. I told his listing agent, I said, we've talked about it. Oh, your grandson, I keep pulling him back to the grandson when you come down here and spend time with your grandson. And I said, well, he goes, I got to get down there. I hate it up here. And I said, okay, well, you can do a bridge loan, you can do a price reduction. There's all sorts of things you can do.
yeah.
And so I keep dropping in. He started looking into bridge loans, and he wouldn't even talk to my lender. He's like, that's gambling. I heard blah blah blah. I'm like, it's not gambling if you're going to sell.
Yeah, I mean, I never judge people for,
Hmm.
any apprehension they have. And again, just for the rest of you, I've been a licensed lender for over 30 years. So I know how to talk about loans and explain them. And one thing about bridge loans and any sort of like there's a whole bunch of versions of them right now. There's
Hmm.
one company calls them the rich uncle loan. Basically, it's a buy first, then sell loan, right? You leverage the equity in your current home to buy the new home, and then you put the current home on the market. Well, in that scenario, you have two mortgages. So if somebody is anxious, he's already nervous about not selling, and now I'm going to have two mortgages. Like I
Well,
I
they
would
have some where you don't pay for 3 months. They have like different options now.
I
And
understand, but
my
in
lender
the
was,
end,
he wouldn't even talk to the lender, but it's
right?
okay. That's his decision. So,
Yeah. So You may have to make a few runs at somebody and get them to, like, it's almost like a grieving process, right? You have to let them work through to acceptance in order to go and move ahead.
Exactly. And you grieve on your own timeline. I can't push his timeline.
Right.
So
We
it's,
can't affect or speed that
yeah,
up. So
yeah,
he's got the right person in you for sure. And it sounds like the organ broker is pretty savvy too. So
yeah.
he's got the right people helping him, and you're smart to
And
recognize
he did say the Oregon broker said that he's finally down to where he should have started on
on
price.
price.
Hmm.
So they have gone down.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, he started, I think,
Okay. So
one
he's
eight, one
changing
nine, and he's
floors.
at 1.5 something now.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so
That's a nice house in Oregon.
yeah, yeah.
That's a
I'm,
bargain.
but he was overpriced, so I keep saying, and the goal was he was gonna. I got him to agree verbally to do $100,000 price reduction each month, and then that canceling
Then he
after.
talked to Phil.
Well, he talked. Well, yeah, and Phil's very smart. So I was kind of surprised. That's why I think he was
He was
messing with
probably
him.
messing with
Yeah.
him.
But he yeah, it just the cleaning for 2 days and then the cancellation just pushed him over the edge.
Yeah.
And understandably so, that would be very frustrating.
Has
Um,
your on a different topic now, and we'll wrap this up if people want to jump off. I want to pivot to REO because
okay.
Allison and I met through that part of the market. Have you seen your REO business take off in the last 2 weeks?
No, not yet. However, they really love the way I handled this one, and
Yeah.
one of the guy that's in charge of the contractors, or the contractor that I worked with, because we did over $200,000 of work, um, in 2 months.
Moving
Well,
concierge. I like it.
yeah, their own moving through their own company.
Yeah.
Um, so he said, I really appreciate all of your hard work. He goes, I know this was a tough one. And I said, well, I'm ready for the next one. He goes, well, keep them coming. So,
Atta
but
girl.
he's not, the asset manager is the one that makes the decision.
Right.
But I did tell you, Andy Bjorkman
Yeah.
did my photos and video. And
I
I don't
haven't
know if
heard
you,
his name in a while.
right? Well, this is the
Yeah.
son. This is
I
his son.
know. I know.
Yeah. So, and he's now my photographer because he's a great coach on the videos. We just did another one, which I'll send it to you when I'm done, for
Yeah.
Rima's bestie. And, and Andy's trained by Mike. And
Right.
so, we, I sent them the video, just I sent the head of the contractors, the video, because I know he talks to everyone in there. I know what I'm
Smart.
doing.
Yeah.
And, so while he doesn't have a decision, he has say. So I sent it to him and then I asked him later, like a week later, when we were talking about something else, I said, did you get the video? He goes, oh yeah, you were the May, the highlight of the winning, like this, the success story of May for the whole company.
I
And
love it.
he goes, I wrote up a thing on you. And I said, on this asset. And I said, fantastic. I said, did you send what, did you like the video? He goes, oh yeah. And I go, did you send it out? He goes, oh yeah.
Was this Zome by chance?
Mm-mm.
Because
Shell Point.
I had the same conversation with Jennifer Geller on two different assets where she highlighted me in their meeting, and I'm like, really? She goes, yeah, you're killing it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I want to talk to you, but let's do an offline.
Yeah,
I'll book a call with you because I was talking with Jesse because Jesse has five, and I think Brent has some assets in Arizona. So I said, let's get a call together.
yeah.
Um,
Well, they still do the DS Pro call, don't they? I haven't been
he
on it.
does, but I'm not in DS Pros, and he
Uh,
said he thinks that you're DIL. Are you DIL still?
uh, isn't that just a Facebook group?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I don't
So
think I
I
have.
used to be on, yeah, I used to be on the board on DIL, and I still talk to Lana all the time. So, we could get a group with Brandy and Julie Bruckner and,
Yeah,
and just invite a whole bunch of people.
I've been getting an asset a day for 2 weeks.
Wow.
In fact, the one I did the occ check on yesterday, a 2,300 square foot penthouse condo in downtown Seattle with killer views.
Well, my competition has this area locked down a little bit, which I'll talk to you about later.
All right. We'll brainstorm that.
Okay. I'll
Well,
book a call with you because I was going to anyway. And I
yeah,
want to send you the what would
what would
Ed
Ed
say.com.
say?
Yeah, because it was absolutely fascinating, in my opinion.
Let's wrap this up. Great to see you all, especially you, Allison. The rest of you, turn on your cameras next time. Hopefully you got some value out of this. Remember, moving concierge will cement a client into you, whether you do it or not. Knowing that they have that option with you will bring them closer to you. So master that first dialogue we touched on. Cash offer tomorrow, as is on the market or as repaired on the market, and you'll win more listings. All right. Make it a great day.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.